Hello everyone, my name is Ruta. I'm from the European Parliament's social media team and I welcome you in Strasbourg. This is the time of the year when the European Parliament awards its annual Sakharov Prize for the freedom of thought, which is given to the organizations and individuals that are defending human rights. And this year is a special year because for the first time this award goes to the entire population, to the brave people of Ukraine who are represented by their president, elected officials and civil society, and who are together basically fighting the not justified Russian aggression, of course, in their country. So from helping people on the spot, rescuing people, giving them support, recording and collecting all the crimes that are made from Russian army, these are just a few examples of what Ukrainian people are facing every day. And today I'm very, very honored to be joined by several of our laureates who will be telling us their stories from their point of view. So I welcome our three guests today, and the first one is Oleksandra Matviychuk. She is the lawyer, a human rights defender, and the chair of the Center of Civil Liberties and NGO. And then the mayor of Melitopol, who was abducted by the Russian army, Ivan Fedorov. And also Yaroslav Bozhko, who is a spokesperson of the Yellow Ribbon Civil Resistance Movement. So thank you all of you really to join us today and agree to answer some questions from me and also from our viewers. So this is also a reminder to all of you who are watching us on YouTube, LinkedIn and Facebook. If you have any questions to our guests, please leave them in the comment section above, and I'll be asking a few of them to our guests today. So let's start with a couple of questions from my side. Well, since 24th of February, you, Oleksandra Matviychuk, you along with a team of volunteers, paralegals, lawyers, you have been recording the war crimes that are made by the Russian army. Can you tell us more about your work, about the cases you registered? Maybe you could give us some examples.
After a large-scale invasion, we faced with unprecedented level of war crimes. And in order to document them, we built all Ukrainian networks of local documentators. We united several dozens of organizations, mostly regional ones, into this network. And now we are able to work on the ground, directly record testimonies of victims and witnesses, send mobile groups to the occupied areas, gather information from the ground, make our photos, videos. Also, we analyze in open sources with a further verification. We have an ambitious goal to document each war crime episode, which was committed by Russian troops in the smallest village in each oblast in Ukraine. We do it for that fact that we believe that sooner or later, all Russians who committed these crimes, as well as Putin and the rest senior political leadership and high military command, will be brought to justice. And our evidence, our information, will be a solid ground for the future court cases.
Thank you. Maybe later on you can also give us more examples and tell us more about other cases. And Mr. Fedorov, you actually became a symbol of resistance of local self-government since the start of the war. And on the 11th of March, you were abducted by the Russian army. Could you tell us your story?
Situation is next. 24th of February, Russian troops come to our city, a border of our city, and by next few days fully occupied. And of course, Russian troops think that citizens, representatives, city government will give support for Russians, and it will be easy for Russians to take control for the city. But after 10 months of occupation, Russians control our city only physical, but there is no support from citizens, from city government and, of course, city representatives. When Russians understand that we don't want to cooperate with them, we don't want to give them support, they try to show example for other mayors, for other representatives, and make decision, kidnapped me and hold me on a prison. And of course it was rather hard 6 days of my life, because I can't understand what I can't expect, and I can't take any information. What can be, why I'm on a prison, who can make some negotiation about my exchange and other things. But most important, then after 10 months of occupation, more than 700 citizens only from Melitopol kidnapped, and more than 100 of Melitopol citizens now on a prison. Some of them in Moscow, in Lefortovo SIZO, some of them in temporarily occupied Crimea. And all of us know that every citizens of Ukraine who kidnapped by Russian, tortured by very different ways, with electricity, psychical, physical, because for Russians, civilians' life costs zero. That's why all their anger that they have, they show on our citizens.
And yourself, you were also tortured? Or
all citizens who kidnapped, all tortured.
Dear Yaroslav, Bozhko, can you tell us a little bit about this Yellow Ribbon Civil Resistance Movement? You are the spokesperson of this organization. Can you tell us more about it? How did it begin? How did it start as well?
I should say that the Yellow Ribbon Resistance Movement is an organization that works on occupied territory of Ukraine. In Kherson, Melitopol, Energodar, Genichesk, Berdyansk, Donetsk, Lugansk, Crimea, and so on and so on. We have more than 3,000 of activists in different cities, in different villages. A lot of them was beaten, some of them was arrested, and several peoples are killed, but we still have not normal opportunity to create a list. We have not so many information about realities of the Russian occupation regime on these territories, and I should say that we create our organization as a tool to help ordinary people to save their Ukrainian identity in occupation, to save their Ukrainian mindset, to help them to find the way how they can be useful for their country in this time. Because we understand not all the people have this opportunity to become a soldier or an officer of the Ukrainian armed forces. But we give this tool help to people, make them understanding that their work are needed by their country. A lot of them are just an ordinary people, and you will never say that this guy or this girl will act like a hero, but it's reality. You don't need to be a hero to be a real hero at all. Our idea of organization is depends on human dignity, freedom, understanding of we all Ukrainians need territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine, supporting democracy, human rights, and policies that based on the values. We need this policy based on the values also for West, because a lot of politicians from West, they only talk about, oh, we can do anything for Ukraine because we have some contracts with Russia, we will have problems with an energetical sector, and so on and so on. But time's up. There are 10 months of full-scale invasion of Russia, and we still not have military flight jets from the Western countries. We still not have modern tanks. We need more air defense systems, and so on and so on. And we need to change this political agenda that stopped us from getting these things for Ukrainian army.
You mentioned the hero, so we should admit that every Ukrainian is a hero now. Dear Oleksandra, your initiative, which is called Tribunal for Putin, has already registered 17,000 criminal acts by the Russian army. Do you expect these cases to reach the Hague Tribunal one day? Or I know that you're also working on a strategy to create some sort of separate international tribunal for Russian criminals. And maybe can you explain us a little bit the conditions of establishing such a tribunal?
We jointly recorded only for the 9 months of large-scale invasion 27,000 episodes of war crimes. And 27,000 is a huge amount, but it's only tip of iceberg. Because Russia uses war crimes as the methods of warfare. Russia deliberately tried to make suffering and pain to Ukrainian civilians in order to break resistance and occupy the country. So we record the pain, we record not just violation of Geneva and Hague Convention. And you asked to provide examples in your previous question. I will tell a little bit from my own experience, because I personally interviewed hundreds of people who survived Russian captivity. And they told me horrible stories, how they were beaten, how they were raped, how their fingers were cut, how their nails were torn away, how their nails were drilled, how they were tortured with electricity, how they were compelled to write something with their own blood. One woman told me how her eye were dug out with a spoon. So it's really horrible stories, and there is no military purpose in doing such things. Russians have done these horrible things only because they could. So we now speak about culture of impunity, because Russian troops committed war crimes in Chechnya, in Moldova, in Georgia, in Mali, in Libya, in Syria, in other countries of the world. And they have never been accountable for this. So we must break the circle of impunity. In order to do it, we have to fill the gap accountability. What do I mean? For current moment, national legal system is overloaded with an extreme amount of crimes. But International Criminal Court, which efforts is very essential, but it will limit its investigation only to several select cases. And International Criminal Court has no jurisdiction over the crime of aggression. So the question is, who will provide justice for hundreds of thousands of victims of this war? And in order to achieve this goal, we need to elaborate a complex justice strategy. We need to establish a special tribunal on aggression, and I know that European Parliament plan to vote a special resolution in this regard, so I ask European Parliament to vote in favor and say yes, accountability for crime of aggression, because there is no other institution who can judge for such kind of crimes. And also, we need to find a way how to bring international element into the level of national investigation and national justice, in order to provide each person their chance for effective investigation and justice. And we have to create a model where international judges will work together with national judges, where international investigators will work together with national investigators. So this is something which we need doing jointly with international community.
And you are working on it?
Yes, we are working on it, and because after several months of large-scale invasion, I start to ask to myself, for whom do we document all these crimes for? Who will use this material? I work directly with victims, and I know for sure that these people who went through the hell, they need to restore not only their broken lives and broken visions of the future, they need to restore their belief that justice is possible, even though delayed in time.
I see. According to you, how significant is the role of self-government in organizing the resistance in the occupied territories? Maybe you can. How important is this self-government in organizing the resistance in the occupied territories? Can you give us some insight on how they're dealing with the current situation, how this resistance
Of course, we need to understand that organization of resistance and organization with city management on occupied territories, it is a new experience, and it is those tasks that we cannot believe ever that we will need to solve. First of all, about resistance. It's a really unpredictable thing that we saw. From first days of occupation, our citizens go to central squares, go to central streets and show a greatest resistance on a meeting by 3, 4, 5,000 of civilian citizens without weapons, without guns. They show soldiers of Russia that they don't want to live on a Russian Federation with occupation, and they are not glad that Russian come to our territory. And what's the main, that till 10 months of occupation, nobody clever person in Melitopol agreed to give support to Russia. And as an example, that collaboration in Melitopol rather less. For example, no schools agreed to give support to Russia. No one chief of kindergarten from 21 kindergarten in Melitopol agreed to give support from Russia. No anyone vice mayor, no anyone chief of department. Nobody want to take something the same with Russians. That's why it's a greatest decision, because all our citizens want to live in democratic Ukraine and European Union also. What about organization job of city council now, city government now? It's a rather unstandard job, because now we have 3 cities, because city, it's first of all the citizens. First part of our citizens live in temporarily occupied territories, and we try to give support for them, deliver some food, some humanitarian aid, some pharmacy. It is very late, but we countries with electricity and other services, and it's first category. Second category is also our citizens, which now say all over Ukraine, and of course keep on touch with our citizens. And third category is those citizens who stay in the European Union or in other countries, Turkey, Georgia, and ELSA. Of course, we keep on touch with them, and it's also our heroes, because they our volunteers, and they our ambassadors in those citizens. They go to the city council, they push for city council and try to take humanitarian aid for those citizens who now occupy territories, and it's like a hand of service and hand. The main position, we back to Melitopol as far as it possible, as soon as it's possible.
Well, Mr. Bozhko, how can you tell us more? How do these local groups of people in these temporary occupied territories, they get mobilized, and how do they practically help you, the movement? Like, maybe you can give us some examples from.
First of all, organization Yellow Ribbon create some different types of an action. Some of them was to stop the Russian semi-called referendum on the occupied territories. Some of them are showing that these cities are still Ukrainian cities. People paint the Ukrainian national colors. People paint this symbol, yellow ribbon. People paint Ukrainian trident, for example, on the wall of the city. Social atomization of people to understand that you will support Russia. Russia would like to take you in this situation when you understand that you are alone with your own ideas, you are alone with your own Ukrainian identity, so it will be maybe better to change it to Russian to save your life, and so on and so on. We give to the ordinary people this idea to help him successful Ukraine, and so on and so on. First of all, we need to understand that people are very brave at the small cities, at the biggest cities. You shall never understand how people brave is until it happened, really. A lot of people are from different social groups, different age groups, both men and women. It's not matter. If people would like to live in a successful, modern, free Ukraine, they will do anything. And I see that by my own eyes.
And what are the main means of communication with them? Are there any special tools you use,
Yes,
or
yes.
special channels, or?
First of all, we use the different types of communications, Signal, Trima app, Sometimes Telegram, it was more safe. But in general, you must understand that all groups of resistance choose their own tactics to keep them safe. They better understand what is going on in their cities. They choose actions for them only by their understanding of situation.
Dear Oleksandra, and actually it's a question to all of you. What was your reaction when you heard that the European Parliament decided to award the Ukrainian people with this year's Sakharov Prize for Freedom of Thought? I know you also received the Nobel Prize as well. So what is your feeling about it, and what was your reaction to that?
I was very proud. And I think that it's very important that this award received the Ukrainian people, not all at whole, because I will tell you how it was after large-scale invasion, because immediately international organizations evacuated their staff. And it were ordinary people who stay and do their work on the ground. It were ordinary people who took people out from the ruined cities. It were ordinary people who helped to survive under artillery's fire. It were ordinary people who broke encirclement to deliver humanitarian aid, or who rescued people who trapped under the rubble of residential buildings. So ordinary people did an ordinary thing. The huge wave of solidarity joined the whole country. And I will never wish any nation to go through the war. War is something unhuman, but these dramatic times provide us the opportunity to express our best features, to fight for freedom, to be courageous, to take responsibility, to make tough but right choices, to be creative and find creative solutions. So I'm very happy that the European Parliament recognizes the efforts of Ukrainian people and encourage all of us with this award.
So that this is a general prize for everybody,
Yes.
right? What was your reaction?
I think that it is very important award, and now it's very on time, because we need to every day to show support for our European institution, for our citizens, especially for citizens on occupied territory. They really heroes. They really show resistance till 10 months, but Russians tried, by help of their propaganda, clean the mind of our citizens and show that Ukraine never come back. European Union forgot about you, and we need new and new awards, new and new support from our partners for our citizens. And this is really award on time.
Any reaction from the movement organization?
For me,
Yellow Ribbon.
it's a chance to say thanks, дякую, for all people who support Ukraine at the occupied territories, who take part in actions of the Yellow Ribbon and another resistance movement. Because, guys, you are strong, and you become stronger from day to day, and Ukraine will win this war.
Well, we know that the EU already has imposed some various sanctions on Russia, provided support to Ukraine. Or many Europeans, they opened their houses, their homes all around Europe. What more, in your opinion, can each of us do in order to support Ukraine and Ukrainian people?
I will use this opportunity to express sincere gratitude to people in different countries and to EU itself for the support which we received during this dramatic part of our history. We are grateful, but the truth is that in order to defeat Putin and stop this war in Europe, we need more. Because if we will not be able to stop Putin in Ukraine, he will go further. And it means that we need more weapons, we need more sanctions, and we need justice. I will provide you an example. A week and a half ago, my friend, Ukrainian defender, Andriana Susak, was blown up in a mine in civilian car. So I ask myself, why it's happened when so many countries of EU have their armored vehicles in their storages? Why in the 9 months of this large-scale invasion, our Ukrainian defenders have still to conduct their duties in a civilian car? So, also we heard about this ping-pong with Leopardo battle tanks, and every day of delay and discussions resulted in numerous deaths of Ukrainian defenders, people in the occupied territories, and people in deep rear. So we have no time to wait. We need modern weapons now. Look, Russia continued their terroristic attack to critical civil infrastructure, and this night they also provide bombardment of my native city, Kiev. And I started my morning with texting to my relatives, are they okay? And if I have a flat to return. So we need weapons immediately. And there are a lot of discussion whether or not sanctions for this glass of water is half full or half empty. But the right question is, do we have enough water in this glass to stop the ability of Russian economy to feed this war? And the answer is no, not yet. So we need more.
What would be your message? What do you think, not only governments, but also people from Europe, what can they do to support?
Today we speak about this topic a lot, and the main message is next, to push on their governments. Because now we see the statistic, and statistics say it about the greatest support from citizens of different countries, European Union, different cities, that citizens want to give support to Ukraine, and it is the main. The citizens need to push for their governments, for their representatives, to give this support as quickly as it possible, because Ukraine needs this support now. Ukrainian citizens need support now, because we defend and we border for European Union. That's why citizens need to go and push their governments as quickly as it possible.
Mr. Bozhko, what would be your message to everybody that is watching?
I would like to add, ban Russia's oil, we need to ban Russia's gas, we need to ban Russia's money in Europe, we need to ban Russia's infrastructure of the political corruption all around the world. All countries of the world should help Ukraine. Ukraine will win, but the main question is how many people will be killed until this moment. So we need your support, we need your weapons, we need your sanctions, we need serious political decisions.
Well, thank you. That was a very, really interesting interview. Thank you very much for your answers. I'm sure all of us already know a lot about what's happening in Ukraine, but it's always good to hear it from you as well. When we announced that the brave Ukrainian people were awarded with this Sakharov Prize, we received really many comments and many supporting messages. So let me just name a few of them. For example, Miktaki from Instagram is saying, "Glory to the brave people of Ukraine, be fighting for Europe and our freedom." Or Jikos is saying, "Cannot imagine." Conte Baradas from Instagram is saying, "For the first time I feel proud to be European. I used to be skeptical about the EU, but today I feel so incredibly proud of our EU for doing the right thing, recognizing the bravery and resilience of the amazing Ukrainian people." Teresa from LinkedIn is saying, "Congratulations to the people of Ukraine fighting for the freedom and united against war." As well as Paolo is saying, "I have the greatest admiration for the determination and resilience of the Ukrainian people for the democratic values." So you're supporting you, supporting Ukraine. And again, thank you very much for your time. I know your agenda is very busy today. And everybody that wants to watch this interview again, you will find it on our Facebook page, and you can watch it anytime you want. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.